This video describes how to use structures in Solidity. Let's take the Solidity version, Pragma, Solidity version, and let's start defining a contract. Okay, so in this lesson we describe how to declare a structure, and array of structures. Okay, let's start defining a contract, a smart contract. Contract, I will call this contract ABC employee, and let's assume ABC is a company, so I'm going to define all the employees, employee details in a structure. Struct employee. The keyword struct is similar like the structures in C language. In this employee structure, we can have different types of data. For example, integer, string, other types. So let's take int 256. I call employee ID semicolon, and string employee name, and string employee, I call it address. Let's take these simple fields, 3 simple fields, and I'm going to create another array as a state variable, employees. This is how you can define an array in Solidity, similar to C language syntax. And this employee is the name of the structure, and so this is to define the array. This is the name of the array. So this array is a state variable in this contract. Now let's try to define 2 functions to add elements to this array and view elements from this array. Let's try to go to compile and see the compilation. There are no compilation errors. It is compiling correctly, so this is nice. Now let's try to define a function to set elements for this employee array. Function set employees, and now I need to define variables. 256 for IT, and string memory. So it's a memory variable, it's not a state variable. Name, string address, and public. Okay, right, now we'll create an employee object, employee memory emp. This is again a memory variable, it is not a state variable. And employee, I use the constructor, and I simply pass this the parameters ID, name, and address. You can pass these three parameters according to this order to the constructor to create an object. So you can also create employee object like this as well. Let's array p equals something like this, employee, and so within employee you can use curly braces, and you can define field names and their values. For example, empid, that is this field name. I call this is ID, and let's give this one now. EMP address, and similarly employee name. Okay, the difference is you don't need to give them in the order like when you use this constructor. There are two ways to define an object. Either you can use the constructor name and you have to provide these variables in order if you follow this syntax, or if you put curly braces and if you field name and the value, so you can give them in any order you like. Okay, now let's try to add this employee object to the employees array, so that employees, that's the name of the array, and you can use the function called push, and you can push emp to this array. So this is the name of the array. Right, now let's see how to view all the values from a function. Get employees, or get all the employees, and also public view returns, and what's the return type? Employee. And you can do here return employees, that return the complete array in once. Okay, this returns the complete array. Now this array is consists of structures. That means this has two levels of dynamic arrays. Employees has two levels, because each element of an employee is a structure. That means it has two levels. Current Solidity compiler does not support these two levels of returns, so that you can add an experimentation version. Let me add it here. Pragma experimental ABI encoder version 2, experimental version, so you can return two levels of arrays. So let's try to compile this now. Compile. So there's a warning. This is a warning. So feature does not solve, does not experimental features. Production. So in production you have to find some other way of getting all the elements, but at the moment you can use this experimentation, this statement, and you can deploy this program and you can run this program. Right, now let's try to deploy this program. I'm going to Okay, I'm going to select a new struct Solidity, and I'm going to deploy. It's deploying correctly, and I go here, and I can set values and I can get all the employees. Let's try to set, let's say A111 is the ID, name is John, and address Galway. Transact. Okay, yeah, it is nicely adding to the blockchain. Name John, string Galway. This is a hexadecimal number for the ID. Okay, right. Now I give 222 and tap from, I call it Dublin, and that, yeah, it's added nicely. The second record, Dublin, and the hexadecimal version of the ID. Right, let's 333 Joe from, let's say, Cork. Transact. It's nicely added into the blockchain. So Joe Cork, the hexadecimal version of the ID. Right, now I'm going to run get employees. So this should give me all the information about all the information in the array. Okay, right, let's see. When you run it, you can see 111 John Galway, 222 Deb John, Dublin, 333 Joe Cork. If I go to debug details, there again I can see all the information about all the information in this array. So this is a very simple illustration of how to create structures, then how to create an array of structures, and how to set data, how to enter data to an array of structures, and how to retrieve data from the array.